You will win. You have to hit the other ones.
Everybody out there in international land, good morning.
Oh, America! Are you serious? It is showtime, baby! Here we go! Ram Jam Slam! Man, it's awesome, baby!
360 Mindset, sharing skills and drills wrapped by stories from the lead performers and your favorite sports pro. So take your first step. Speak your first word with a foundation of positive thought that comes from 360 Mindset and your host, Coach Whiteman. Oh, Whiteman. Let's get started. No excuses and no regrets. Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. This is 360 Performance Talk on KUHSdenver.com. Good morning. It's a Friday, as it is every Friday at 11 a.m. on KUHSdenver.com. We're going to be talking about NFL football, March Madness, and a number of different performance issues as we start our day with the mindset segment. But before I do that, let's make sure that we connect in with our guest today, Crockett Gilmore from the Baltimore Ravens. Let me give him a ring on the phone. You can stick with me as we hear the ringing and the dial tone and all that great stuff on the system. Hey, good morning. How you doing, Crockett?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. We're on the air right now at KUHSdenver.com in wonderful Denver, Colorado / North Glen, where the studio is located at. As I welcome you in on the show today, we're going to talk a little bit about the recovery attitude. We'll give details about that in a minute. And family. Family, I know, is an important component for your life and mine as well. But I want to talk to you a little bit about how that's impacted your recovery attitude. But before we do that, Crockett, give me your pick for the winner of the NCAA March Madness. Who's it going to be?
I have no idea who's going to win the month.
That's good. That's good, because that way my pick is great then. See, I'm picking Villanova or Michigan State. And already,
I'll take Buffalo.
oh my God, really? Because that could be like another pick from the hinterland that actually could have a chance. And it's like who else? There was somebody else that Loyola of Chicago. They've got the Nun and God on their side. You know, they upset, and then Arizona got beat. So my bracket's already crap. So it doesn't matter. But we're going to talk about March Madness and the attitude of that in our first set. Mindset's our first segment, everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about what makes up the mindset of an NFL player coming off of an injury. But before we do that, I want to remind everybody that on April 26th, the NFL is going to have their draft. And in doing so, they're going to take it down to Texas, which is kind of a surprise for some. But it's in Dallas at the stadium down there. And the interesting thing is that it's going to be one of the largest free fan-based participations that they've ever had. and that's pretty exciting for fans. And there's going to be a lot of different programs. We're going to go through some details on that in just a second, and share with everybody about the programs that are going to happen down in Dallas. The NFL Play 60 zone is going to be on down there, as well as some fan interaction type of things. You can do gear up and go. Gear up and go. That's one of the things that are happening down there. In addition to that, it's in the next few weeks, the NFL owners are going to be getting together and doing some stuff. Interestingly enough, they're going to have it was 2013 is when it came back, but performance-based training for the NFL administrative people and staff, and not coaches. This is for people that are want to learn better about their profession in the NFL as a whatever they do, but non-coaches. Actually, coaches will be talking to this group. The last subject we have, which this might be close to your heart, Crockett, is performance-based pay. Crockett, were you aware of how much money you can make outside of your contract? It's phenomenal.
Not really until afterwards.
Yeah, that surprises me too. I'm going to ask you about that a little bit. I've heard stories from just real notable NFL players that their checks are at the front desk of the franchise. They don't get picked up for days and days. And that system's changed, by the way. But you're so into the sport and the preparation that it just kind of hits the account and you don't see it until the end of the season, which I guess is a good thing from a financial management standpoint. But here's some numbers. Like Quinton Spain, who's with Tennessee, he's a guard. He made the most performance-based pay of any NFL player. And here's the other kicker. He's been in the league since 2015, and he's an undrafted free agent. He made almost $500,000 just in, playing a lot. So you have to be good at what you're doing.
Well, yeah, based on start.
Yeah.
And then it's also based on play. So if you don't start, you earn more per play because it's not expected. So that's actually definitely strong for making all the money in that market if it allows those late caps and those a little more money.
And for me, I mean, like a lot of fans that just watch vicariously from outside, they want to take shots at the NFL for being real assholes. But this performance-based pay stuff is pretty stout. I mean, it's pretty cool stuff. So anyway, we're gonna.
They don't get anything up front, so they're playing for free, and then they play the whole year and they make a good amount of money, but you have to live in a new city, you don't have money coming from college or anything like that. So
that's
definitely something nice to build a live off of.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I think it should motivate a lot of young men to really work hard during their combines at school. If they don't get to the combine invitation in Indianapolis, because there's still a chance. There could be a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that makes it more than just a casual lifestyle. It's not less than $100,000 a year. So we're going to talk. Those are some of our topics. But Crockett, you and I, we go back a few years, so I know you better than most who are fans of NFL players. But that being said, every year is a different year in the NFL for every player, and yours was an extraordinary one last year. So give our people a little bit of background. How early did you find yourself looking into recovery from injury? When did it happen?
It was the second day of camp, and I knew I was out for a year.
Whoa.
So we had to go through the process of, okay, well, I start a new job on Monday. That's not going to happen. She's got to take me to the hospital. So
yeah.
went through surgery. About a week into surgery, we sat down and talked, and I told her something that had been on my mind for a while, which was, I don't think I'm an NFL tight end. And she was a little bit shocked, given that I played so well. But my body was telling me differently.
I was kind of fighting it the last 2 years to stay at 266 or 265. It'd be I had to cut to 8% body fat to be that lean and that strong. That's great, but you're fighting physically. You're worn out from staying there. So ultimately, I decided to move to Arizona a month later and start not only the recovery process but also the process of moving.
Yeah, that you and like I said, let me just put this in context for the fans. This is a young man who's just made that statement, who's a very confident, very focused person on what is necessary to be his best, both emotionally and physically. And here you are, as you said, having to make a statement to your bride, a relatively new bride, and your family that hey, I got some major changes going on in my world here.
Yeah.
And so then you physically uproot, go to Arizona, and by the way, we're going to give some props to your folks there in Arizona, the people that are supporting you there in a few minutes. But give me your impression of what you saw when you delivered those messages, and what did it make you feel like when you saw that?
Well, like I said, it didn't come on my mind, but I was playing so well that I couldn't really justify it.
Yeah.
And then with the injury last year, you tear a hamstring 2 or 3 times. Like, okay, it's because I'm really not this weight. I'm not really supposed to be moving like I move.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like I'm using just as much energy to stay, I guess, smaller. And like I look around the league, and there's not, Gronk and Kelsey and all these guys. They're always hurt. Tight ends are always hurt, and they're bigger guys, so it's just a difficult situation. And then to see, a good friend of mine, Dennis Bennett, get hurt and be out in his situation, I was like, we're not designed to do this big and move that way all the time. I get it, we can move that way some of the time, but to do what the NFL schedule and what the NFL wants us to do for 16 games, as well as the entire offseason, the entire regular season, it's just not. It doesn't even function that way. So to be able to put on a little weight and just, hopefully extend my career, it was a pretty simple decision.
Yeah. So when you looked into Haley's face and told her what was the plan, what did you get back from her? What was the feelings and the emotions back from her?
Well, I'd always joked with her. Obviously, coming from D-line, I was like, I've never felt as though I was a tight end. I never felt comfortable there. I never, as quickly as I learned the position, as quickly as I, did well, it didn't feel natural to me.
Yeah.
And with how each offense I've been in utilized me, I didn't feel that they were utilizing me the best way. So I just felt that the best thing for me and really her, ultimately, was for me to make that transition, and it was really just between us. Obviously, talked to Weston a little bit,
yeah,
and a few other people, but we were really the only ones that knew. And like I said, we've been out here in Arizona since September, October, and I've loved every minute of it. So
yeah, it's a good place. Now, are you're working out with? Who are you working out with out there? What's the name of the group?
Charles Bentley,
yeah.
O-line Performance.
Yeah, I want to give LaCharles a lot of props because he's doing it the right way, as you know. And his past is not the same as what you're going through, but the emotions are similar because he had his own trials and tribulations with injury, so he's got to relate to you pretty strongly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I read his book last week, and people don't get it from our perspective and the injuries and the things we go through. But to have a guy like that around and know, truly what was going on, it was great for me to have him.
Yeah, and then let's talk a little bit about family. This one's family about non-blood family. You mentioned Weston, and Weston is out there too, working at L's camp as well, because it's predominantly lineman oriented, right?
Yeah, it's all linemen now.
Okay.
The only non-linemen invited or asked to.
Yeah, but you're one of the best. You were one of the best skill player blockers I've ever seen, and I think you've heard that from coaches with better mindsets and insights than I have. I mean, you just, I think regardless of what your size is going to be, you're always going to be a fundamentally sound, beyond expectation blocker. You just are. So,
and you know, that goes back to art and what I was taught in college.
Yeah.
And even back to Pat Meyer's days, when you know, when I initially made the move, he did a great job teaching and really translating it to a way I could understand, as well as then, you know, allowing me to, you know, kind of take my wrestling background and everything. That helped tremendously.
Yeah, frame of reference and what you know is a huge place to start a foundation of knowledge. Yeah, exactly. As you know, too many coaches don't give you the credit for what you know. They just want to push their own agendas. So when Weston is out there, so you got the big man with the camp, L is out there, you got Weston's out there. So how important is that to you to set a mindset for your training coming through the rehab, the recovery process?
Well, the biggest reason, obviously, was to be here, to have a guy I knew I trusted in Charles, as well as having Weston come out. You know, unfortunate circumstances, gets a concussion and doesn't come back, and then he's healthy, and then they don't, you know, bring him back. So he's here, but it was a great asset for me to have. You know, we're bouncing stuff off each other all the time.
Yeah.
As well as we're so competitive. You know, in the weight room, even if we're just talking ball. You know, my mindset is I'm better than him, and that's, he knows that.
And he calls you crazy.
I know he can be the same way. So it's been fun, but to be able to be around the guy of that caliber, you know, obviously all these years.
Yeah.
You know, we lived together in college. We were high schoolers, you know, so to have him around, it's been, you know, hats off to him for allowing me to come down here and basically just move in with him 2 years ago, and then to be here now and train together, it's been awesome.
Would you say that he is on the list of the brothers in your life? I mean, you've got 4 brothers.
Absolutely.
He's got to be your fifth guy.
Guys that, you know, Weston, Eric Weddle.
Yeah.
You know, those dudes. There's so few of them, guys that work the way those guys work, and then, you know, expect nothing of it. They just go to work knowing that any day it could be over, and at the end of the day, they'd be successful at whatever they're going to do. So,
well, and
to have those guys around, it's been awesome.
And I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit more about on mindset. You know, through your career of learning and coming up through the game of football and any game, wrestling, baseball, whatever, you have your own way of doing things, and you're one of the more stubborn people I know. So,
absolutely.
What kind of challenges does that present for yourself in knowing yourself so well, in being able to communicate a message, even if it's to Weston or the guys that really know you? I mean, you I hate to put it this way, but it's pretty direct and pretty clear. You got baggage, kid. I mean, you bring stuff to the table that people have to work through to want to get to know you. How does that impact your mindset?
It's real. You know, I'm not going to feed you full of bullshit.
Yeah.
People obviously can see through that, and I see through it better than anybody. But at the same time, I know that, and I can relate, and I can speak truthfully about it. And I know that when I have, you know, not always done that in the past, it wasn't the best situation for me, and it wasn't the best situation for those around me. And at the end of the day, I'm here to, you know, make the team better. And if I can't be myself, that's not going to help anybody. So, you know, those young guys are going to come in, they're going to, you know, think their shit doesn't stink, and they're awesome. And I'm going to put them in place, and hopefully they respect that, but it's not from a place that, you know, I didn't come from.
Well, let's give some props to that.
We're all just guys trying to make it.
Yeah, and let's give some props to let's give some props to the Ravens for that observation about you, because right from rookie camp, kid, you came in telling people exactly the way you felt and how it was going to be. You had some good support in Pinna and a few other guys that were in your position, the tight ends, that helped support you in that. But the Ravens have been pretty stout and different than most franchises, and really letting you be you.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think from a coaching perspective, you don't want to coach a guy like me unless you have some of that in you yourself. And with what Coach Harbaugh has done, obviously he's had success, and he does things his own way.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I don't think you can't recognize guys like us if you're not that way.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a different mindset with Baltimore and with what we've done, as well as all the people in my team around me, Weston included. We're going to go about a different way, and not everybody's going to get it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
We seem to think that that's okay because we think we're going to be better and more successful for it. And until I'm proven wrong, I'll continue to think that way.
Well, I think let me just add something here to the scenario in closing getting to our next segment, is that it would be one thing for you to push your own agenda and not be aware of others around you. But one of the things that I've hoped I've shared with you in the past is that the awareness to the environment is huge in not only you being sensitive to others, but getting more success than you expected by your behavior. It's called adjust and adapt.
Yeah. All the time. I mean, there's literally never a day that I read a new book or I make a change somehow, some way. What I hear or what I see, and people are shocked that I treat certain people differently. And I said, well, not everybody. You can't scream at them, but
yeah,
there's a select few guys that I would recommend that for, and that's probably been hit home after they've rubbed me the wrong way sometimes. But there's plenty of ways to teach. I explain it this way: if you can't teach it to a kid, I don't want it. And if you truly understand that, it's a kid's game.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't apply in football and in life, then it's fine. We don't care about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody wants to have rocket science on a football field, and that's how you work out.
Well, and if for everybody out there listening, Crockett Gilmore's with us today. He's a Baltimore Raven, has been since he came into the league as a rookie. I'm going to ask you a question about that on the business side of things when I get done with the little break I'm going to have here, and talk a little bit about, as you can't see this, Crockett, but I'm showing to the cameras here for people to look at. One of our sponsors is Empower, the Empower oils and spa products. That is basically their slogan is "Put it where it hurts." It's basically an oil based in cannabis. It's a CBD product. I use it myself for all those bumps and bruises I've had impact me over the years. Crockett will be using it, I'm sure, in the future, if he's not already using something like that to take care of the bumps and bruises and get you back in shape. But that's Empower spa oils and spa products. The other thing that we've got recently that I used Purell a lot, and I've now switched because Purell is an alcohol-based product. It dries your hands out. And I'm a guy though. I don't care about cracked hands, and that I do. I want smooth, supple hands so I can catch the ball. No, it's called Germ Block, and it has no alcohol in it. It's primarily for healthcare, but if you're in the training room, you're walking through, you're going to get all those oils and lotions and stuff. But with the diseases and germs and shit that's going around, you want to make sure you stay healthy. And so Germ Block, this is a Tennessee-based company, and they're a new onboard sponsor for us here at 360 Performance Talk on wonderful KUHSdenver.com. Once again, we're talking to Crockett Gilmore. And Croc, what's going to go on the business side of things? We've got a few more weeks left on free agency and all of those wonderful terms that get thrown around in the NFL that fans think they know a lot about, and they don't know bupkis. And then you got, Weston, despite his injury, which I thought was a made-up bunch of bullshit to delay for the New York Giants, and he still came out smelling like a wonderful rose from Texas, with his wonderful contract he got with San Francisco. So what's on the horizon for you? Where's your head at with that?
Obviously, we want to be a Raven. We're trying to work that out. there's still coming off injury, so it'll probably be, somewhere in the likes of a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Either with Baltimore or somewhere else, just depending. Obviously, making the transition. So we'll see where it ends up.
Okay.
The biggest thing is taking care of myself and,
Yep.
and getting completely healthy. Like I said, we put on weight. I'm about 307 right now, so still working the leg kinks out. My feeling's good. But there's still a little bit left to be able to walk in cleared for the personnel that is the whatever organization you got to be able to move. So that puts them at ease. So
yeah,
looking forward to the opportunity, but hopefully we're back in Baltimore.
And your position wise, you're going to go in, get your physical for what position then?
No idea.
Okay. Because you play
really whatever they need. Obviously, offensive line somewhere. That's what I'm training for.
Okay, so give our listeners an idea of you've played defense and offense, both in a line position as well as a skill position on offense, right?
Yes.
So lineman, tight end, and what did you play in defense?
I played stand-up linebacker and defense. Yeah.
Gotcha. And those are all. And I'm pulling for you, but I'm also very interested in your health and well-being because you're right. The weight and the legs that have to support that weight with the kinds of delivery of skill at any position is extraordinary. The footwork for linemen is just amazing.
Yeah, but the injury I had this year was actually from 2011. Meniscus MCL that I kind of rode out until it just couldn't go anymore, and I felt so good and so strong and so powerful. And really the one weakness I had came back to bite me.
Gotcha.
But like I said, I felt even within minutes afterwards, I felt this is good because now the weakness is gone. We have a good foundation of meniscus, and we can build. And I was 257 when I got hurt, and I'm at 307 right now.
Nice.
And once we get these legs going, I think we can be even bigger.
Damn, Crockett, you are a wall. I mean, I know how big you were to looking at 270-ish, and at 307, holy moly! And your mobility has got to be. I mean, you add that mobility from your days as a wrestler, the agility you had as a tight end, put into an offensive lineman. I can't look at. There's so many teams in the league that need your skill.
Yeah, my high school stats coach texted me after the news broke 2 weeks ago and said, "There's no way you're 307 or 305 or whatever that I was."
Yeah.
And I replied the little emoji of the eye roll, and I said, "There's no way you can high jump." And those of you don't know, my senior year, I was the defending district champion in high jump.
Yeah.
I said, "You can't high jump. You gain 30 pounds. You're 230. You're not going to jump." And I said, "Okay." And I went to district. So I said, I'll be defending my title today. And he said no, and then I said yes, and then I did, and I defended my title. So I had to give him a little heck on that.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, if there's one thing I've learned about you, if you say something, I'm not going to bet against it. Because more than likely the odds are against me that I'm going to lose based on how you've performed in the past. So the next segment I have is called skills. Now that's not skills like X's and O's skills and how do you catch a ball, how do you block or any of that kind of stuff. It's about mindset skills, and it involves. I know you're nutritionally focused, so I'm guessing you've got one just amazing calorie intake and different versions of proteins and when to put the carbs in you and all that kind of stuff. But when you're working out with LaCharles, what are some of the things he's asking you to see now? Because it's going to be a different look. You're coming up out of a stance, even though you were in a stance as a tight end periodically. Now it's all the time. And it's that amazing upper body work along with footwork that might go a different direction that just really makes me amazed at offensive linemen. That's a skill set that's just mind-boggling to me. So what have you done to change your skill set on just visualizing what needs to be done and getting the body doing that?
Oh, again, I've had a extreme background in the way I did block. So for me, it's really the nuances of terminology as far as what the interior guys are saying.
Okay.
Whether it be at center, guard, tackle, their terminology. For the most part, it's the same for me. Obviously, linebacker depth and their footwork and all that, those kind of things are telltale things for me. But I obviously want to see that from the safety perspective, from the corner perspective. You know, when we'd be in the backfield, I could see all that. So it's not anything I haven't done before.
Gotcha. So now, do you have some tells that you know about? So when you're an offensive lineman looking at those defensive guys across the line from you, are there things that you look for them to show you that's going to?
Absolutely. You know, safeties are guys that talk a lot, but they show even more.
Yeah.
And the more they move around, the better it is for us because they're either hiding something or trying to hide something that we know what's to hide.
Yeah.
And then that, you know, correlates to linebackers and the D-line as well.
I'm watching in the studio. You're not here, but I'm watching highlights of your Ravens and CSU work, and I'm just reminded of something. You know, because San Francisco's got Kilgore on the squad and now Weston on the squad. Can you just imagine what it would be like with all three of you there?
Well, they trimmed Kilgore yesterday.
Did they really? Oh.
Yeah, Miami.
Whoa. Okay, then they even more so need you. That would be so awesome to see the two of you on the line together. Because that would be just an iron curtain. I mean, that's like, oh my gosh, that would be so cool. I get emotional. I just do. So on the you got these tells. You're seeing these guys out there, and yet there's that communication, both verbally and non-verbally, between you and your lineman teammates. Is that? I mean, I know Weston well enough, and I know you, so you know when Weston turns a certain way, what he's going to do, or you know when he drives off with his left hand, where's he going to go from there? Are you relying on that as well to enhance your performance on the field? As seeing what this environment looks like, so I can anticipate taking action.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, once I made the decision last spring, or I guess last fall, to make this transition, I started studying the game. So I had the whole season really to watch these guys and how they do things, and really, you know, not only from today's perspective, but to go back and look at former players and guys that you hear about, but you didn't necessarily see, guys like Larry Allen, Jonathan Ogden, the best of the best from before my time.
Yeah.
To not only understand how they played and why they played the way they played, but to also understand, some of the things they did that I call them cheats, but they're really, the veteran way of doing things rather than always keep your head against the wall.
Well, give our listeners a little example of what you would consider a cheat, but really as an effective way as a pro to get the job done. Give me an example.
Well, just on the backside of things, some guys, they want to cut and they want to, try to get across the guy's face. Where I'll backdoor a guy, I'll let him beat me across the face, and then I'll take a kind of a step up field, and I know by the timing of the ball where it should be, and if it works out the way I'm planning on it working out, I'm going to be able to peel back on that guy rather than standing here hand fighting him for a quick two, and then he's beating me across my face, and I never get back to him. So it's not always, necessarily a wall at the beginning, but kind of just edging them by right at the last second.
Well, and some of the gentlemen that you mentioned, now that you've said about that let them go across your face and get basically sideways and behind you, because where the ball is supposed to be, you're basically
I think like we had Capri in college, and one of his very great things we loved about him is we knew exactly where he was going to be.
Yeah.
It wasn't like all of a sudden he's into his own thing and bounce to play, like, because that would get him killed from my perspective. So I'll let that guy go.
Yeah.
We're both screwed. I'm going to get a block in the back row holding, and he's going to get crushed. So, to have faith in a guy that's going to do what they're supposed to do when they're supposed to do it, that's a good thing for me.
Well, and your comments and descriptions of those examples are a segue into our next section and segment. Is called mental conditioning, and the mental conditioning is misnomer because I talk about environment. It's one's mental conditioning and thinking about where am I placed in this space that I'm in. So in our example about downfield blocking, getting to the second level, if you're aware of your space, you're going to be able to do the things you just shared as an example. So as you're going into this next phase of your career, then you're going into some uncharted water for you. You're still a Raven, desire to be a Raven, but yet it's a business. You know that it may change. So as you're looking at going into that environment, what are some of the things you're getting yourself prepared for that really have nothing to do with the physical side of things? The physical's a given. You got to be the best you can be, and eventually prove it. But what are some of the things you're anticipating you're gonna have to face in this environment coming forward, the business side of things?
Well, that's one of the things I'd like to be a Raven because of the strides we've made as individuals and as a team. Some other teams that are maybe younger don't have such a developed staff maybe looking for those headaches later. Where we've already gone through those things. We know how to adjust and adapt. So obviously that's a huge reason to want to be where we are. But at the same time, some of those experiences, it's not always going to happen. Everything's different. Every team's different. Every organization, every team is different from week to week, year to year. With injury and turnover and coaches getting plucked out and players getting plucked out and pay and moving on. So, like I said, everybody's different, but really it's a different time in my life as well. I'm an older guy now. Obviously a physically different guy, and I think the lessons I've learned through having to deal with the things I've had to deal with, not only am I stronger for it, but I can also teach those young guys how to, train and how to be disciplined in their craft as well as, it's not an option when you don't want to lift or you don't want to work out, because that could quite simply be the end of your career because somebody else wanted to do what you didn't want to do.
Yeah. Well, it's, just so you know, to me, you're always going to be a kid. Just saying. You may think you're older, but I'm just saying. Now that the point you just made about that maturity and bringing it to the Ravens, that's an organizational standard. I think the Ravens have got to promote a lot because they have been that kind of consistent, stalwart franchise that if you're really looking at it as a player, you should have some high confidence of expectation for support. Now, I'm going to be really surprised if you don't get a lot of pats on the back from your QB when he realizes that you want to become an offensive lineman, because he certainly could use the help.
I'd be real surprised if he showed any emotion.
Well, that's some insights that you have that many times people don't see from a game. But I understand that. I have seen his expressionless face often enough. Even
but, a lot of people hate that, and I love it because, to me, that's they can play whatever happens. So.
Well, and that's truly him, which is why you appreciate it. There's no interpretation. That's who he is. But I'm sure that there are certain moments when defensive end or tackle or nose guard has fallen on him that he would have liked to have the your impression in front of that. And so
I would have liked it then too.
Yeah, and so talk a little bit about the environment and the mental condition of the Ravens going into this season from your perspective. you've got a lot of components that are in place that should make it very optimistic. But at the same time, the offensive line, for example, there are spots. In the skill positions on the defense, there are some spots. So where do you, outside of the locker room, where do you see the biggest influence that's required to really bring you guys to that satisfied feeling that we've got this going on? Even though the seasons are always different, there's injury that comes up. But just from the get-go, in the next month or so, what do you want? What do you want to see? I want you to be on the team, not number one. But what else do you see happening for the Ravens?
We've got a good young running back and Alex Collins, but it's never hurts to have two or three. And there's guys that are coming back off injury and similar things that are going to help us, but really just kind of continue to ignore the noise and keep doing what they're doing. There's no reason to freak out. We're one game away from the playoffs last season. With a ton of injuries. I think by week one we had maybe 10 starters out. So it's not a situation that we're really panicking. We gotta have a little luck, really, truly. These issues we had last year, I think, like I said before, there were injuries that everybody I talked to, this is an old thing that came up, and to me that shows that we're getting better from this standpoint. We got so strong that this, really told me what it was. The hamstring for me 2 years ago, last year, was cumulative, and it showed that I had a knee problem, and then the knee finally went. So I got the hamstring so strong that the knee finally went. But in terms of me as an individual or the team as organization, there's no panic. It's a long way till season. We're gonna get better, whoever we have. I don't see any rush to freak out about nothing. I just feel like we're in the right place at the right time.
Awesome. Now I'm gonna ask you a little bit more about family, because that's a huge part of your recovery attitude and what helps you to maintain your foundation. As tough a guy as you want people to think you are, you have your moments. So where does mom and dad fit into the equation for you from a family support mechanism during these times?
Oh, they've been great. They also know that I'm going to do the things I'm going to do. So over the years, it's gotten better without having to fight them on everything. For them to understand that. Yeah, the doctor may have said that, but the doctor's not me. The doctor's not the situation. The doctor did play, so I'm going to do it my way. You
have a good imitation of your mom.
What's that?
You have a good imitation of your mom. You sounded just like Rose. You sounded just like her. Because your dad, he's just sitting back there with an expression on his face. He's not saying a lot because he knows better. He just kind of goes, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Who knows we're exactly alike is the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, he and I have had conversations like that back in the day when you were in college.
He's already talked to himself about it, and he already knows how it's going to go.
Yeah. So with mom, so you got mom and dad. They're a great support for you. Then you got the brothers. I want to give them a special name. For that group of guys that are your brothers, and you're being the youngest. During these times, do they give you any breaks at all? Is there any sympathy at all for you from them during this?
No.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah. That's too bad.
Matter of fact, Jocko Willing, we listen to him all the time. And when I got hurt, I'm pissed off and strutting through the house. And just from that point where I was like, I need a drink, Gabriel texts me, and he sends me Jocko's, good. And the whole thing is, his direct subordinate, somebody that works for him, he's complaining about something, and he says, but I don't want to hear what you have to say. And he says, why? He said, well, because you're going to say good. He said, that's what you always say. He said, when shit's going wrong, when, you get hurt, good. You got more time to get better. When things aren't going your way, good. More time to learn, more time to get focused, more time to, you don't get the equipment you wanted, good. More time to train on something else. So to have that in that exact moment, and it's happened a couple of times now that he's done that. And, we traded I used to say. And, you know, when Wesley was going through stuff he was going through this year, I sent it to him. And, you know, I sent it to him again yesterday after he signed. So, those guys, it's been awesome.
Well, you know, and we're laughing about it because you've grown up with it. I mean, from the headlocks when you were smaller and you couldn't do anything about it, to now to the time when you can do anything about it, but it doesn't become physical because they know that you're bigger than them, and they'll give you the verbal chides. It's created some foundation of support for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's, you know, that's why I have the mentality I have. You know, going in day one of camp or now, you know, 5 years of the league, thinking, you know, I don't care who they put out there. I'm coming in as a new offensive lineman, so whoever wants me can, you know, take the opportunity. You better do it now, because, you know, somebody's gonna get in trouble.
Yeah. Well, and you know, you've got Austin. Is Austin the only brother now that's still around football? Because
Yes.
Gabe is working. He's not around. Of course, he's big and strong, just like you guys are. But and then older brother is just trying to be the best dad he can be and take care of the family.
Just had another son.
Yeah.
About 2 weeks ago. So he's on number 6, and then Katie had her daughter. She's about 7 months old now.
So I know you'll probably not get any verbal remarks to this question. It'll all be just kind of like, oh, look how nice Crockett's holding his niece or nephew, or look how nice he's playing in the backyard. That's as close as they'll come to this question about, so are you getting any pressure? You feeling any, you know, hey, you should be a dad kind of thing? I mean, I know Haley's not here, but.
No, you know, Haley's so structured. I'm not in control of that at all.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
She has her time and organization down.
Yeah.
You know, it was up to me. I have 12 already.
Yeah.
That's plan. I trust that process.
Yeah. You are a wise young man. I'm giving you props, man. You have come a long way in your level of maturity. And just that statement alone tells me a lot of how much you've just really excelled. That's awesome. Now, does that mean that Gabe's going to get married soon? Because Haley's got a plan, you know. Yeah, I'm here. Does Haley have a plan? Does Gabe have a plan that Haley's structured for him? Because, you know, it's best friends.
No.
You know.
No, neither one of them have a plan. Sam works.
Oh, gosh.
You know, I mean, they're getting married.
Yeah.
In July.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I mean, they're the kind of people that'll have a kid in my home.
Yeah, and see, that's why I think Haley likes Sam, is because that's a complimentary thing. She gets to live vicariously through Sam's lack of structure.
Yeah.
It's really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Now, here's the purpose behind all of this. Family is a huge component to who you are and what you do in your life and how it creates the next steps for you. But family isn't always about blood. And that's what I want to make sure my audience listens to here in the fun that we're having with the names we're dropping. It's not so important that they know the names as much as they know that these are people that are in your life because they help to make you better.
Right.
And that's what I want to make sure our audience knows about. So we're coming to the last segment. My last segment is performance results. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean the trophy at the end of the finish line or the touchdown pass. It means process. So the process right now, you got some time on your hands, kid. I mean, the workouts are one thing, but what do you do in the downtime besides going these wonderful radio shows?
Well, the first thing I do in the day is after I, get some food in me and some protein is read. I've read, 40 or 50 books probably since I got hurt.
Whoa, nice.
And that's something I never did, growing up or even in college.
Yes, as I know.
That's an option. And it's really been something I fell in love with after, kind of listening to Jocko over the few years and then, picked up the books and I haven't all put them down.
Nice. Well, I'm hoping that if I'm on my schedule, and I am, you'll have another book to read in June.
Okay.
From hopefully one of your favorite authors going forward.
Sounds good.
Yeah, but it'll be it's called Bench Coach. It's coming in June if everybody works out their contracts right, and it's about our time we shared together for about 4 years, and about a lot of other people that you know. So that's coming out. So reading is one thing, reading books, getting the knowledge. Now I tell my athletes that I work with and the team that I talk to about, it's one thing to say something, but you've got to have some purposeful intent behind the words you speak.
Right.
So what do you
Absolutely.
what are some of the things you're doing with what you're learning now? I mean, I know the physical side of things, but where's it showing up for you in your actions?
Well, it's most of what I read is discipline based.
Mm-hmm.
Some people would say motivation based, but I call it discipline.
Yep.
And like I said, it starts first thing in the morning, 5 o'clock wake up. I have Theragun, so I'm loosen up the muscles to start the day, and then stretch. The things that nobody else sees.
Yep.
And then the protein, then straight into workout, from workout to eating again, to another therapy session, to eating again, and protein again, and then you incorporate needles when you need them, and acupuncture and any kind of stretch therapy or massages.
Yeah.
So it is only that much stuff, but it is a lot of stuff, and you just do that really one day, and in 6 or 7 months, like it has been. Obviously, it's been working,
Yeah.
helping you gain weight and everything else. But to feel as good as I feel, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, truthfully, because I'm in bed by 8:30 or 9, and up at 5, so I get all the rest I need.
That's awesome.
As well as mentally, on edge all the time. So getting everything I really need there, as well as keeping up physically.
So Crockett, how important is it for those pieces to be connected, and how do you connect them?
What's that?
How important is it for you to have each of those pieces that you mentioned from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed connected with one another? Is there a bridging process from one step you take to the next?
Well, it started out slowly. Obviously, you can't eat 10,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
Start from day one. We built up to that, and get there, and then continue to gain. It's really discipline. I mean, there's times I used to eat, maybe miss a meal, and I could afford to do that, and now I can't. Because that's setting me behind that time I don't really have. So, not to get up at 5, even on a day like today's my light day, so I only have rehab. I still was up at 5, still have my food, I'm in rehab now, so to have that structure, to have that discipline, that you don't miss meals, even when you're traveling. When I do have to go back to Baltimore, see my wife, or we were counseling system, and she says to me, and all those things, but she doesn't get it.
Yeah.
Her job is something completely different.
Yeah.
Like I said before, people don't get it, and they don't need to get it. She'll be grateful later on. And a few years from now, when we're 30 something and hanging out, and then she don't have to miss me anymore. So it's definitely a different lifestyle, but such a short time to sacrifice now, at least 5 or 6 years to do that, and then hopefully do whatever we want afterwards.
Well, I have to compliment you what you just said, because that's a level and a sign of maturity that many people have their entire lifetime and don't gain. That tempo, that pacing through the discipline, because discipline doesn't have to go fast. Discipline has to be tempoed.
No.
So you mentioned that you have a tempo, and then you also talked about goal setting, that you have these daily goals that help support the discipline that you say you have every day, that you stay on it with the tempo that makes it fit uniquely for you. And the other piece I heard you mention was the consistency of managing the process. It's Michael Johnson. You know who Michael is down in Texas, and Michael is a 5-time Olympic gold medalist, and he talks about process in that it's not the breaking the tape at a sub 40-second run. It's where are my hands at? Where are my fingers at? Is the discipline of my elbows against my side? How does the turf feel when I stroke my foot into the ground? And you're saying the same thing and as it applies to you and getting your goals accomplished. And I think those are tremendous messages for anybody, regardless of what they do. And as you said,
I mean, essentially, it's harder for what you do. It takes that mentality into, I mean, really applies to everything.
yeah. So it sounds like you are connecting the pieces, and in the performance results process thinking that I share it's that the connection, and you've got the connection through how you have planned out in your days and the goals you set. And I really liked what you said about, let's do it now, in this moment, right now, in anticipation of the next goal when we're 30. And because that's forward thinking, that's anticipation. It's hard to adjust and adapt to things you don't expect if you don't have a plan of anticipating change, and you've got to have discipline to do it.
I mean, we've had to go through so much over the last couple of years, whereas before it was like the smallest thing felt like a mountain, and now we're halfway up the mountain, and the worst thing could come at us, and we're just like, okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, 5 minutes after laying on the table, knowing I've done for the year, I'm already making moves to be where I am today.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so, people are like, why is he smiling? Why is he not pissed or whatever?
Yeah.
They're seeing me in that moment where I'm already over that situation. I'm moving on.
Yeah.
Because dwelling on it's not going to help anything.
Well, you've got to. I mean, you've got to be a great person to be around in those workouts with LeCharles. I mean, do you see this? Do you see others with the same kind of mindset on their faces that you would have going into the workouts, or is it extraordinary?
No, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I've only met one other guy, period, that has it, and it's Derek Weddle, and I've been following him around since the second he stepped in the bill with the Ravens, and he didn't know I was one of the dudes my whole life, and when we got him, I was like, there's no way this guy can be as cool as he is for scenes, and then to see him work, the way he works.
Yeah.
I didn't really ask him. I just started showing up when he showed up, and then I started showing up before he showed up and staying after he left. So.
Well, that's part of who you are, Crockett. You're an action-oriented guy. You're the guy that waits to ask permission after you've done it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I, that's one of the things I can count on you for. We're coming to the end. We got about a minute or so left in our session for today. Look, man, I can't tell you. Every time I talk to you, I miss you, and I want to talk to you more. But I know it's when we connect, it's like we're never disconnected. So I really appreciate that and what you bring to my life. And in addition to that, I want to make sure that our listeners know that wherever Crockett Gilmore is going to be at in the professional ranks of athletics in the NFL, he's going to give you your best. He's a person to follow. He's a player to watch, not because of necessarily the play he plays, but how he plays it, the process he brings to it, and the dedication that he's put into getting there. And you've just had a taste of that today. So, Crockett, what do you want to leave with people today for the good of the order?
Well, I want to tell everybody, remember there is a process to everything, and to know when to run through the wall and when around it, when for the door. But there's never a moment to dwell, and just keep saying good and good things will happen. Yeah,
exactly. Put the positive out there, and positive things will come back to you. Hey, thank you, my friend. I really appreciate you being here. And as we always do on ending each show, we talk about breathing. So go forward, my friend. Best to the family, best to Haley, and take care of yourself, all right?
I appreciate it.
Thanks, group. International, that was Crockett Gilmore. Watch him on the Ravens this season or wherever he winds up. I think it'll be the Ravens, but be aware of who he is and what he's doing. It was a great show.